Yahoo Fantasy Baseball Tucson Toros Group Week 12 Quick. Take a quick trip around the league to talk about what happened in Week 12 action in the Tucson Toros Group. First off, Twice as Nice remain undefeated after knocking off Derek Lewickel's Cheater 6-4 in a tight one. Twice is now 11.5 games up on second place in the league with a decisive lead on the rest of the group. Twice took 3 of 5 this week in both pitching and offense, but half the battles were pretty close as Cheater definitely put up a fight. Twice had just one player on the offensive side with more than 3 runs, and 5 players hit under 200 this week as the offense really wasn't clicking, except in the RBI category where 4 players had 4 or more RBIs. Adam Dunn had 7 RBIs with just 1 home run this week. On the offensive side, Cheater's using just 8 players right now on the offense, but still managed to take the runs and average categories. Twice as Nice, though, on the pitching side, had 8 saves this week. Matt Lidstrom, 3 saves by himself. Twice had just 3 pitching victories, but 4 pitchers had an ERA of 0 and 7 pitchers with a whip of 1.29 or lower, while Cheater was either hit or miss. Cheater had 5 pitchers with a whip under 1, 2 pitchers with a whip over 2 in loss. Grassy Knoll knocked off Greek Thunder 6-3-1 in other action this week. Knoll now leapfrogs Greek in the standings for 3rd place by 2.5 games. Knoll is on a 5-week win streak, definitely finding their groove, while Greek remains winless against top 7 teams, now 0-5 against the top teams in the league. Knoll swept the offensive categories. Pitching went 3-1-1 to Greek, but every battle was pretty competitive. Knoll had Carlos Quinton on the offensive side for 4 homers, 11 RBIs, and 6 runs, while Knoll had 10 players with 2 or more runs, and 6 players hit over 300 for the week, including Quinton. Greek had just 4 players hit homers this week, just 3 players with more than 2 runs, and just 2 stolen bases as a team. On the pitching side, Greek was brilliant with 7 pitchers with a 0 ERA, 9 pitchers with a whip of 1.29 or lower. Knoll also had Cliff Lee this week for a win, but nobody else picked up a victory. Knoll had 4 saves from 2 closers, but those 2 closers had ERA over 3, and Carlos Marmol, the 3rd closer for this team, 0 saves and an 11.57 ERA. But Knoll still wound up walking away the winner. In other action, AZ Padres defeated Jimmy Dugan 5-4-1 in a real tight one. Dugan slips to 6th in the standings, a game out of 4th, but half a game up on 7th. While AZ Padres now took 3 of 5 on the offensive side. Pitching was split down the middle, 2-2-1, but 4 of the 10 battles were pretty close. AZ Padres used offensive Paul Konerko for 3 homers, 8 runs, and a 3.48 average, while Dugan had just 1 player with a stolen base this week. That was B.J. Upton, who had 3 stolen bases, but hit a measly 143 from the plate and decided to fight his own teammate in the dugout on Sunday. 5 players also hit under 200 for Dugan on the offensive side. But on the pitching side, Dugan had 3 pitchers with double-digit Ks. That was countered for Padres by Heath Bell and his 4 saves this week. AZ Padres also had 3 pitchers with an ERA under 0 and 5 pitchers with a whip of 1 or lower in that team's victory over Jimmy Dugan. In other action, the Androids knocked off Waveland and Sheffield 5-4-1 in another close one. Waveland's now half a game out of 6th with the upset. Androids now on their first winning streak of the season, undefeated in the last 4 weeks, though, ending Waveland's 3-week win streak. Androids took offense 3-1-1, while Waveland took 3 out of 5 on the pitching side, but most of the battles were pretty tight across the board. Androids took 8 offensive players into battle. 5 of those hit over 300, and 4 players had a stolen base. Again, just 8 of the 10 slots were used this week for that team. 2 huge performances. Justin Upton for Androids had 5 RBIs and 3 home runs, hit .571 for the week. Shin-Soo for Androids hit 4 homers, 8 RBIs, had 5 runs, so 2 explosive offensive performers helped propel Androids to the win. Waveland and Sheffield struggled on the offensive side, had 7 players hit homers, but none of them hit more than 1. Jason Hayward was noticeably absent from the contributions this week. No runs, no homers, just 1 RBI and an .063 average. On the pitching side, Waveland was pretty good, though. 4 pitchers with a 0 ERA. Bobby Jinks led the way there, 3 saves and a 0 ERA for the week. Unfortunately, Waveland and Sheffield also owns Carlos Zambrano, who imploded this weekend. He wound up suspended after a 36 ERA and a 4 whip and a fight with his own teammates in the dugout. For Androids, Ubaldo Jimenez has been the bright spot on the pitching side, but this week he was not. He had a 9.53 ERA, so Androids had to turn to David Price for a win. Picked up a win with 11 Ks and a 2.25 ERA as Androids squeaked out the victory. In other action, Hunt 1981 knocked off Koufax's Revenge 9-1 in a blowout. Hunt reclaims second with the big victory and is now 18-1-1 in the last 2 weeks of play, while Koufax has lost 4 straight in their worst loss of the season. Hunt swept the pitching categories, took 4 out of 5 on offense. The only category Koufax was any good in was an absolute rout of the stolen bases category, where Koufax had 7 stolen bases from Sean Figgins alone and combined for a total of 13 stolen bases as a team. Hunt countered 6 players with homers this week, 5 players hit over 400. Koufax unfortunately couldn't keep pace with that. Evan Longoria, one of the stars of that team, only hit .217 this week and had 1 run and no RBIs. On the pitching side, Koufax was pretty decent this week. 4 of the 5 starting pitchers on the roster earned a win, including Edwin Jackson's no-hitter. 4 pitchers had a 0 ERA. Hunt countered that with 6 pitching wins, 4 pitchers with a 0 ERA, and Ryan Dempster and Tim Lincecum combined for Hunt to get 2 wins and 27 Ks in the win. Metropolitans knocked off Lucky in another blowout this week, 9-1. Mets has won 6 of their last 8, while Lucky has dropped 6 straight weeks. Mets swept the pitching category, took 4 out of 5 on the offensive side, but half the battles were pretty close, but Metropolitans wound up walking away with the decisive victory here. 5 players had stolen bases, 5 players hit home runs for Mets. Mets also had a huge week from Alex Rodriguez. He had 3 homers, 8 runs, 10 RBIs, and a .381 average. Lucky had only 1 player hit a homer this week. That was Michael Young, who hit 3, 7 RBIs, 8 runs, and a .400 average out of him. On the pitching side, Lucky had 4 pitchers with an ERA over 9. That was not getting the job done. CC Sabathia did his best to help out Lucky's stat, though, with a win, 7 Ks, and a 1.13 ERA. Metropolitans needed 4 wins from just 2 pitchers to get the job done this week. Jamie Moyer picked up 2 wins and 12 Ks. Irvin Santana, 2 wins and 13 Ks this week. Otis and the Drunks knocked off last place Woodallas 7-3 this week. Otis is now tied for 5th in the standings, just a game out of 4th place. Otis has now won 4 straight weeks and 6 of the last 7 weeks, while Woodallas has lost 4 of the last 5 weeks. Otis took 4 out of 5 on the offensive side, 3 of 5 in pitching. The battles really weren't that close. Otis had a great offensive week. 6 players hit homers, Dustin Pedroia and Vernon Wells, 3 homers apiece. Otis had 4 players to 4 or more runs and 5 players with 4 or more RBIs. Woodallas used just 6 players on the offensive side this week out of the 10 available slots. 3 of those 6 players, though, hit over 400 to help take that average category. On the pitching side, Woodallas used Chris Carpenter and Wandy Rodriguez to combine for 2 wins, 10 Ks, and a 0 ERA, while Otis continued their struggles with the ERA and WHIP category, as 6 players had an ERA over 7 and 5 players had a WHIP over 2. The bright spot for Otis's pitching staff, Matt Latos, had a win, 13 Ks, and a 0.71 ERA. In final action this week, Tucson's Prettiest knocked off Bronx Bombers 6-4. Prettiest ended a 4-game skid with the win. Bombers has now lost 4 straight weeks. Prettiest took 3 of 5 on offense and in pitching. The battles really weren't that close, though. A very ugly battle in the ERA category this week. Tucson's Prettiest used 9 players on the offensive side. 5 of those players hit homers. 7 players had an average of .250 or lower, though, on the offensive side. Bombers, on offense, combined as a team to hit just 1 homer and have just 2 stolen bases from the entire roster. On the pitching side, just 5 pitchers were used by Bombers, 1 victory. All pitchers had an ERA over 5. Tucson's Prettiest countered with Francisco Cordero, picked up 3 saves and a win from him, but unfortunately also had a 9 ERA. Looking ahead to Week 13 action, we got some big matchups coming up, and remember, just 5 games separate 2nd from 7th, so a lot can still happen. Twice as Nice puts the undefeated streak on the line against Lucky. 2nd place takes on 3rd place as Hunt 1981 faces the Grassy Knoll. 7th place takes on 8th place as Waveland and Sheffield takes on Metropolitans. Greek Thunder is going to put 4th place out there against surging AZ Padres, who sits 9th right now. Otis and the Drunks is going to try to stay in the top 6, taking on Derek Lowe equals Cheater. Jimmy Dugan also trying to stay in the top 6, going to be taking on the surging Androids. Koufax's Revenge looking to stay in the top 12, going to be taking on outsider Bronx Bombers. And Tucson's Prettiest is going to be taking on last place Woodallas. So we hope to see you back for Week 13 next Monday.